and I played John Walking Fox, the Indian lead character in that show. And so I've always been useful playing the other, playing the alien type, the person who's other than the typical.
Well, now, the zombie movie notwithstanding, I can't wait, I've got to go.
I think it's been colorized.
I love the sci-fi.
Don't miss it.
And you don't understand. My husband's in the audience going, you don't understand. She likes sci-fi original pictures with Sasquatch and zombies and everything else. She can't wait to go look for it. Right. How did you get your first part?
I was acting in a theater project in Los Angeles. I lived in a rooming house for a while, a rather famous rooming house. It was called the House of Seven Garbos. And it was a house that a lady rented, and she rented rooms to actors and actresses. You paid $6 a week and you shared a room with somebody. And then you went out with your 8x10 glossy photographs and knocked on agents' doors up and down the street and tried to get an agent to represent you. And one day, one of the actresses that lived in the house came home and she said, do you fence? Can you do swordplay? Well, I had actually belonged to a fencing club when I was a kid in Boston. I said, yes, I can fence. She said, well, we're doing a children's production of The Three Musketeers, and the guy who was playing D'Artagnan just quit. Would you be interested? And there's no money involved, you don't get paid, and it's going to be only Saturday morning performances for kids. So I said, okay, I would do it. I was, why not? So I went and did it, and it turned out that there was a director in the audience that I had no idea who he was at the time. But later I discovered there had been a director in the audience, and he hired me for that first job because he had seen me play D'Artagnan. So he hired me to play a zombie.
Can we talk about Mission Impossible for the 2 seasons you were Paris? That would be great. Now, it was produced by Desilu. Yes. So you had just finished 3 years of Star Trek, and Desilu also produced, and so they were on the same lot.
That's right, right next door.
Right next door. Yeah. Happy coincidence,
walking by. We used to go visit them, and they came to visit us back and forth. Marty Landau, Barbara Bain, and all those good people came on our set. We went to see them. We were close friends. Yeah.
So just got it that way. Now, Paris is a different character than he had been playing.
The thing about Paris that I found eventually frustrating was that we never learned a thing about him, the character that I was playing, because you saw Paris at the beginning of the show in the mission meeting where Phelps gave out the instructions of what the mission was going to be about. Maybe Paris had a line or two, like, what time should we be there, Jim, or something like that, And then Paris went into disguise. So very often I was totally covered with makeup. You didn't even know it was me. And that was interesting for a while. I did it for 2 seasons. I played dictators, and I played ancient Asian people, and I played a robot. I played all kinds of strange characters. And after a couple of years, it became very tedious because the makeups were very heavy. I was in makeup several hours a day, every day. And then the same characters started to come around again. Now I'm playing the European dictator again, the South American dictator again, and the Asian guy. And I thought, I don't think so. There's nothing, and there's no internal life to any of these characters. It's all charade. And I love working on the internal life of a character. So I had to give it up. I said, I've got to leave, and I did, and I went off and started doing a lot of other different kinds of work. But I did 2 seasons on Mission, and happy I did it, but that was enough. Yeah.
Well, we started on In Search of and meandered somewhere else, which is very normal at any Dragon Con thing, as many of these people can annotate there. But when talking about In Search of, you weren't only the narrator, but you also wrote.
I directed it. I wrote a couple of episodes and I directed a couple of episodes, but I was there primarily as the host.
Primarily as the host. Yes. Did you also suggest some of the investigations?
Occasionally. I did some extensive work on the subject of Vincent van Gogh, a famous artist, Vincent van Gogh. And I proposed an episode about him, about Vincent, and because there were some interesting questions about what his life was really all about. And we did do that episode. I went to various places in Europe and in France and England and so forth, where he had lived and worked. And I visited the hospital where he was hospitalized after he cut his ear. I was in the room where he died, in his brother's arms. It was a very emotional experience for me because I became very closely involved with the study of this person. And I toured the United States doing a one-man show called Vincent. And in fact, I played it here in Atlanta at the Peachtree Playhouse some years ago. We eventually videotaped it and at the Guthrie Theater, and that videotape I think is still available. And there are still occasionally actors who go out and do this play, which makes me very happy to know that the play has a life, despite the fact that I'm not doing it anymore. But we did do an insertive episode about Vincent van Gogh, which I composed, and I was very glad to be able to get that done.
Did you have any episodes that you really enjoyed and found, even for yourself, fascinating?
Well, sure. I was talking about this the other day. We did an episode about mental telepathy.
Yes.
And what we did was we brought a group of young people, maybe 5 or 6 young people together. There are a series of sort of signal cards that we use as tests for mental telepathy projects. The cards have various kinds of shapes. There's a circle, there's a triangle, there's a series of waves on one card and so forth, each on a different card. And the idea was to hold up a card, a person, the sender would hold up a card and concentrate on that image, and a receiver would try to imagine or try to receive the image and say what it is that I'm looking at, what card I'm looking at. So we brought this group of kids together, and typically they would get 1 right, 2 right. There were, I think, 5 cards. Beyond that, the mathematical percentages were very slim that you could get any more than that. There was one young man, I'll never forget, every card I picked up, and there was no trick, and there was no way he could see what the card was that I was holding. He guessed every card exactly right. And the chances against that are millions and millions to 1, so slim that it would be almost impossible. To this day, I don't know how it happened. We didn't pursue it with him. We didn't lock him up and study him or anything. But these things happen. I mean, we did run into this kind of experience with mental telepathy. I'm still fascinated by mental telepathy. I still wonder when we're going to be able to crack that frontier and figure out exactly how we communicate with each other in nonverbal ways. I think it's a fascinating study.
That actually goes back to something you were talking with your photography, with the new finding the other part of yourself.
Yeah.
Is there, do you think, something in us that calls to another?
Yes, I do. I do. I also believe, and I've written about this somewhat, I believe in what's known as the universal consciousness, universal spirit. I believe that there are certain things that go through the human race at one time or another and move from pack to pack. Just like whale song moves from one pack of whales to another across the oceans, I think there are certain kinds of nonverbal communicative ideas, conceptions, or whatever you want to call them, that do travel through the human race at one time or another. And you'll find this in the world of artistry, amongst artists. Various artists will be coming up dealing with similar ideas at the same time without having communicated with each other. So there must be some kind of, I'm quite convinced there's some kind of universal consciousness that we all